Hello everyone, it's nice meeting you guys.
Uh, Hello, everyone. Can anybody hear me, please? Blockchain Let's Group, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, we hear you, but could you please mute your microphone, please?
All
We hear you loud and clear.
right. All right.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Cheers.
All right. Thank
Hello.
I'm sorry, Blockchain Let's Group. It seems you are talking, but you muted your mic. We can't hear what you are saying, please.
Ryan, you've muted. There we go. No long ting.
Sorry, guys, just give me 2 minutes.
Whilst he's doing that, I'll just quickly introduce myself. Hi there, everybody. I can see some faces that I recognize, one of them in particular, Mr. Josh. Hi there, Josh. Pleasure to see you again. Always a pleasure to see you either in person or online. If you've never met Josh in person, everybody, I've got a lot of energy. Oh, there we go. I'm back again. Yeah, Josh has got an incredible personality and that matches his smile, that lights up all the rooms that he walks into. And what he's doing with Crypto Mondays is absolutely fantastic.
Hey man, well, thanks for having me, man. I don't know if I got enough Caribbean going on right now, right? Do I got enough Caribbean with the glasses? No, I mean you got the coolest glasses. Is that Caribbean enough, guys? No? No. All right, let me add something now. It's now we got it. Are we
Yo, Josh, just hold up. Guys, the session hasn't begun, right? We are beginning now. So we have to take it from the top.
Okay, we can do that again. I can say that again.
Yeah, we were literally just waiting to admit a few more people, then take it back from the top. So, Gabby, where are you at?
Hello. Can everybody see me?
Yeah, Gabby, we see you.
All right. So hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Gabrielle Gay, and welcome to you, all of you, to the No Long Ting Blockchain Web3 Legal Tech Education Bootcamp. All right. Now, this isn't just your regular bootcamp, okay? We are here to give you all things fintech education, really pushing the envelope forward in this regard. And there's also going to be ideathon and lots of exciting things to come up. So first of all, if you're excited to be here, speakers, participants, I need you to drop a yes in the chat, all right? Drop a yes in the chat. And we know that you're here from all over the world. Please mute your mics and drop your flag. Drop a yes and your flag in the chat. Let's do a little shout out for our country.
Okay, too.
Right.
Gabby, please request to mute their mics, please.
Yes, I will. I'm going
to
request. All right, so turned off everyone's mic for a little bit. So I'm going into the chat right here. Let's do some quick shout outs. So we've got Bonita from Nigeria, Alayla from Barbados. Shamsuddin is saying yes. All right, Muhammad, yes, come through. Okay, we have so many incredible individuals. Nino, Elite Computer Tech, B Construct Engineering Services. All right, you guys are on fire. And that's what we love. That's what it's about. And we're so excited because we are on fire too to give you this education. So let's get right into our introductions. So who is we, right? Who's going to be talking to you today? So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Gabrielle Gay. I'm the founder of the Erlin Bradshaw Foundation, home to the Caribbean, Americas, and the world's first, largest, and most awarded education programs of their kind in law, policy, advocacy, and technology. The Erlin Bradshaw Foundation is pushing the envelope for education, reaching 10 million plus leaders, professionals, and students all over the world in those areas. We also have with us Brian. So if you remember the FemLex cohort, you know attorney Brian Mondo already. And for you NLT members, Brian is the founder, you're meeting for the first time officially, the founder of the Blockchain Lex group and the No Long Ting Web3 and Blockchain Bootcamp. He is the brainchild of this amazing initiative, and we are so proud to partner our FemLex cohort program at the EBF Foundation with Blockchain Lex Group and Crypto Mondays Caribbean. And Brian is a dual barrister and dual qualified attorney. He is all things when it comes to legal tech and compliance advocacy, and he is a master at all things Web3. Then getting into who's going to be with us today and pouring into you, our lovely participants, we have Michael Harding and Keeson Rake, who are the co-founders of Blockchain Sensei. So Blockchain Sensei are financial educators who are dedicated to helping individuals achieve financial independence. So they work together, bringing comprehensive programs in technical analysis and emerging technology. And they've partnered with some of the biggest in the field, including Oxford, Cambridge, Surrey, and Greenwich, and organizations such as the Manchester United Foundation. We also have with us today Joshua Lange, who is a renowned education innovator, the co-founder of Crypto Mondays, which is one of the most historic and the largest blockchain, crypto, and NFT communities worldwide. We also have Caitlin, and Caitlin is the founder and CEO of Crypto Mondays London, which is one of the largest and longest running monthly meetups dedicated to Web3 education and networking across the entire globe. And then, of course, we have to mention Nathaniel Cole, who is the head of events at CoinScrum, and they lead initiatives and events. And he is the co-founder and events manager at Stacks London. So shout out to Stacks London for being here as well, who are also one of the premier educators on Bitcoin and Stacks blockchain. And we also have to mention Keneal. So Keneal is our COO at Crypto Mondays Caribbean. And even though he's not here with us today, he's one of the driving forces, Keneal Legister, for this movement. And then we also have Nino, or AKA Nicholas Bickert, who is the CEO of Fifthwork. Hi, Caitlin Argo. She's here with us, just popped in. And Nino, or Nicholas Bickert, as I said, is the CEO of Fifthwork. And Fifthwork is at the forefront of innovation in the Web3 and education arena. So, ladies and gentlemen, participants, partners, mentors, when we said that we were bringing you the best, we meant it. And we have the best with us here today for the No Long Ting Bootcamp. So, enough introductions. I know you guys are excited. The chat is going crazy. Let's start off with the Blockchain Sensei session. Take it away. Blockchain Sensei, you're up.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. Just give me a wave if you can.
Hey, Mike, just before you start, Mike, Nino, were you going to say something before the Blockchain Sensei session starts? Something quick and brief?
I can. Hello, everybody. I'm Nino. I'm Fifthwork. I have my partner, Evan. He's on here as well. Basically, what we are trying to do, we are trying to establish a community where people who have specific talents but need other talents to build a platform can come together. So that's the main idea here is I want to connect developers with entrepreneurs. I want to have venture capitalists come together with all three of them, and we build a team together that can actually make your ideas come to fruition and actually help you build the products. So that is the main goal from my end. That's what the driving factor is. How do we help you get to where you need to be a productive member of society and have something that is your own? And that's the main goal that I'd like to see happen here. But I don't want to get in the way. I'll go ahead and hand it back. But I did want to say
There you go,
thank
Mike.
you, Evan, for being
Mike.
here. He's got a lot of education, so it's good to have him with us. That's a rare treat. But we won't speak for another couple of days, I think. But we'll meet you guys again. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike and Keith. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Michael Harding. I'm the co-founder of Blockchain Sensei, as we were beautifully introduced just a second ago. What we do is we aim to provide financial literacy and blockchain education. So rule number one is that we like to teach people that blockchain and crypto are not the same thing, that they're two separate things. Number two, what we like to do is we like to teach people and help them to understand that blockchain is actually a financial asset, depending on the way that you look at it and depending on the way that you interact with it. Now, to interact with a financial asset, it means that you need some sort of financial literacy. So we're quite different. We actually teach people first principles. So we actually teach people about the financial literacy of investing in general first. So we actually don't recommend people to invest in crypto straight away. We recommend that they invest in themselves and their education first and understand financial literacy and understand the stock market first, and then gradually move over into cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and other digital assets. So my background is I was lucky enough to be educated by a director of JP Morgan. I was lucky enough to find out about blockchain in 2017. My mom absolutely hates that I only started paying attention to blockchain in 2017 because she found out about Bitcoin in 2012, and I was very, very anti it. But this is why you should always listen to your parents, because sometimes they actually do know better than yourselves. But since then, I've been working in the education space alongside my amazing co-founder, Kirsten Rigg, and currently now do all things blockchain events and business development for the Solana blockchain in the UK. And I'll just quickly let my business partner, Kirsten Rigg, introduce himself, and then we'll get started with the slides.
Hi there, guys. Hope all is well. My name's Keishwan. A lot of people call me Keish for short. I'm one of three co-founders of Blockchain Sensei, and I'm also a founder of Air, which is a venture studio. So we help build and grow a wide range of different companies across emerging technologies. And yeah, I think my background is a little bit more on the technical side. I work very closely with development teams to ensure that products are shipped out correctly on time, etc. I like to say that Michael is more on the front end side of things, and I'm a little bit more on the back end element. And we work with a wide range of different organizations, governments, family offices, venture capital funds, and etc. On the business side with the venture studio. And then also in terms of the education side, I handle more on the emerging tech with DeFi and then also AI. But today we'll be covering everything about the blockchain.
Cool. Sweet.
Okay,
So do you want to share this slide?
Sorry, Mike. Before you and Kish start, Caitlin and Josh, you just want to introduce yourselves, and Nat, if you are in the group as well, you just want to introduce yourselves. So to everybody, Caitlin and Josh and Nat will be on the second half of the session. So for now, we're going to start with the instructor session where Mike and Kish are going to take you through the instructional aspects, and then Caitlin, Josh, and Nat are going to take you through the real world aspects and the interactions with the different communities in this industry. So Caitlin and Josh, please. Nat, if you're there, please. Josh, you're not mute. Okay, cool.
And I saw Caitlin too.
Yeah.
She was here.
Yeah, she is here.
I'm here.
Let me just say thank you very much, Gabby, for that really exciting, motivating intro to this whole session. That was awesome, and we'd love to see you on stage as an MC at Crypto Mondays for sure. Yeah. So yeah, me and Caitlin are going to come back. But basically, I would say Caitlin's more of a founder of Crypto Mondays than me. I founded Crypto Mondays Global. So we do different things at Crypto Mondays. I'm much more going around the world and online and with interviews and also setting up events and doing other stuff in crypto. So I work with a lot of founders, investors, and things. And Caitlin, she's more home in London, but also a global citizen. Go ahead.
Thanks, Josh. And yeah, thanks, Gabrielle. That was a beautiful introduction to the entire event. Thank you so much. Yeah, my name's Caitlin. I got into Web3 or crypto blockchain in 2017, and I founded Crypto Mondays London in 2018, and I've been running it ever since. So yeah, I'm very excited to chat to everyone and have a bit of an interactive session a little bit later. So I look forward to that. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Back to you, Mike and Keish.
Oh, perfect. So, Keish, if you want to share the slides.
Yeah, let me go up now.
So, where we normally start when it comes to the educational side of things is we like to start with the facts, right? And unfortunately, what we've got to understand the facts is you've got to understand the context for where the facts lie. So most of this is based on stuff that we found is very boring to most people. People aren't really interested in reading white paper after white paper, report after report. However, we at Blockchain Sensei actually are, because we're big nerds, right? We've read over 80 financial reports from the World Economic Forum, from Goldman Sachs, from Grayscale, you name it. We've read all the reports. We've gone through the Harvard lectures by Gary Gensler and condensed all this information into fun, bite-sized information for you to easily digest. So let's go on to the next slide. Boring blockchain, the backbone of the digital financial economy. So first of all, what is blockchain technology? You probably hear this term all the time. All the time you're hearing this is blockchain, Bitcoin, this, Ethereum, this, Solana, that, meme token, this, Pepe coin, Bonk. And you're just probably a bit like, but I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Why is this thing so important? So let's just take a second to imagine a scenario. Imagine a world where you can send money to anyone, anywhere in seconds without a bank. In fact, you are the bank. And in fact, you've got complete permission over who you send it to, when they receive it, how they receive it, and if and when they can move it in some cases. Now, as we know, all around the world right now, there is several billion people that are unbanked, right? And this is one of the biggest problems in the world, is that, yes, a lot of technologies are available to us on the internet, but most of the time, to be able to access them, you kind of need a bank account and you kind of need a bank card. However, to do that, most of the time, what do you need is you need some kind of KYC. So what's KYC? That is passport or some kind of ID. However, most people in the world actually don't have these forms of ID, which then therefore means that they can't actually get a bank account, which then therefore means that they can't access most of the things that are available on the internet and take part in most of the things that the rest of the world take part in. So the next part of that is then, even if there is a bank, a lot of the time you have to get permission to move your money, or sometimes your bank may block transfers or may block you from receiving money, depending on if they think that the activity is suspicious, if it's come from an international country. So this is a massive, massive problem, especially now that people are working online all the time. With people working remote all around the world and being able to be in any country and work for a company in any country, international transfers are now a massive, massive problem for people in their livelihoods. on top of that, there's actually massive fees on top of these international transfers as well. So imagine a technology that took all of these problems away. So let's go on to the next slide. So why is blockchain important? Blockchain is important because of one single factor called the convergence. Now, I hear you ask, what is the convergence? And what is this big messy spaghetti thing in the middle of the screen? This is the convergence of all emerging technologies and how they are all linked in together. Some of them you may have heard of, like artificial intelligence, like things like ChatGPT. You might be thinking, what's blockchain got to do with that? Well, if blockchain is a way of proving where things are and proving that things have happened, I'm sure you've all seen that with AI, it's not real. So it would be really good if there was something that could prove what is real and where it came from. The next side is things like battery technology, things like digital wallets, things like robotics, 3D printing. And one of my favorite ones is IoT devices. So what is an IoT device? An IoT device is something like a Ring doorbell, a Roomba, a thermostat, basically any kind of device that connects to the internet and pretty much automated using the internet. That all of these IoT devices have billions of pieces of data that are floating around on the internet at the moment. But unfortunately, when we're using these devices, a lot of the time we don't get paid from them. They just collect data, and thus the companies get to use that data and make more money from it. So let's go on to the next slide, because we can see that blockchain underpins most of this. But let's break down what blockchain even is. So the easiest way that I like to explain what blockchain is isn't even written here. For absolute beginners, I like to explain blockchain this way. This isn't completely factually correct, but it's the easiest way of understanding the concept. Blockchain is just basically the internet shared and spread amongst loads of computers or mobile devices. Super simple. That's level 1 of understanding. Level 2 of understanding. Blockchain is, think of the word block as computer or data on a computer, and think of the word chain as linked. So when we put that together, it's blocks of data on computers linked together. Blockchain. So again, to understand that, if we go a little bit deeper, what is happening? What is happening is there's data that we are all using on the internet. It gets put into a ledger, into a book, essentially. And these bits of data that are now kept and stored, saying that this person did this action at this time, is now layered on top of each other, one by one, each action, each transaction. And now these transactions are all linked together. So anybody can now go and access this information and go and check, did this person do this action at this time on this day? As we can imagine, this is very, very important in the world that we live in. Let's go on to the next slide and explore why this may be. So, as we were saying, oh, there's a little pop out there. We can go and explore. There is tons and tons of different uses for blockchain in the world. So what we want to understand is, if we are looking at blockchain as a big digital database that links everything together, what we really need to understand is a little bit of the history of blockchain. So for those of you that are from perhaps Kenya or know people in Kenya, you may have heard of something called M-Pesa. Now, M-Pesa is vital to the story of blockchain technology.
No, sorry, Max. Before we go into the history of the blockchain, I want to just share a quick visual for everyone to see, which is a very clear and good understanding of, using traditional means compared to using blockchain technology. So I'm just going to share that real quick. It's just a quick 2-minute video.
Cool.
Let me tell you a short story about a little fellow called Jacob. Since he could remember, Jacob always wanted to get a blue cat, but his parents were always finding ways to not get it for him. So, one Christmas, he figured out a way to finally get his dream pet. He would send his wish to Santa. Oh, how excited he was when he wrote the letter. But Jacob was too young to take the letter to the post office by himself, so the next morning he had to ask his dad to do it for him. You could say that his dad was the middleman between Jacob and Santa. He never imagined that on his way to the post office, his dad would open the letter, read it, and replace the blue cat on the list with a brand new pair of socks. The letter was posted to the North Pole, to Santa and the elves. When they received it, they started working right away, making Jacob's gift. So, that year, Jacob received an adorable pair of socks. But next Christmas, Jacob decided to use the blockchain. Jacob wrote exactly the same letter, but instead of giving it to his mum or dad to deliver, he directly uploaded it to the North Pole blockchain. The North Pole blockchain is made up of a lot of computers connected to one another through the internet that all store a copy of everyone's Christmas list. The network is being monitored at the same time by all the elves, Santa himself, and even people like Jacob's parents. Every time a new letter is received, it is saved onto every individual computer, so everyone has the exact same copy. As the blockchain is an open network, everyone can see all the letters, even though it's impossible to know to whom each one belongs to. But when Jacob's parents saw that there was a letter asking for a blue cat, it wasn't hard for them to know that it was from Jacob. So, once again, they changed it, this time for a cookbook. But as every other node had a copy of Jacob's real letter, the change was spotted, and the computer trying to make the change was cut off from the network, meaning Jacob's real letter remained unchanged. So, guess what Jacob received that year for Christmas?
Okay, brilliant. Cool. So let's go back to the sides. So, as I was talking about M-Pesa. Now, what did M-Pesa allow people to do? M-Pesa, what it allowed people to do is it allowed people to send mobile minutes to each other. Now, why was this essential? Because in Kenya at the time, there was a massive problem with people not having bank accounts, but yet people needed to pay for food, pay for goods, pay for transport, so on and so forth. So what would people do is they would simply just go, okay, I'll send you X amount of minutes because I feel that these minutes are worth this amount of grain. These amount of minutes are worth this amount of travel on the back in your taxi. Super simple. Now, there's another platform that was used for internet money that we may have heard of. It's called PayPal. PayPal was originally started by a gentleman called Elon Musk. I'm not too sure if anyone's heard of that guy before. But he actually originally wanted to create a digital currency. But the problem that he kept running into was the same problem that several other people listed on the right-hand side also ran into, which was something called the double spend problem. What is double spend? Double spend is where if you send money to somebody, if you send money to two people at the same time, the ledger couldn't update that you only had enough money to send it to one person. So what would end up happening is you could, if you had £1, for example, you could send £1 to 10 people, which is a bit of a problem if the person only had £1. So that was the double spend problem there. So as we look at the history of blockchain, we can see that it's been around for a very, very long time. Since 1979, technically, one of the key parts of blockchain is called a Merkle tree. This has been around since 1979. In 1989, David Chaum founded DigiCash Corporation. And in the 1990s, we started to get the introduction of the proof of work concept and P2P networks. So what is a P2P network? This is just a peer-to-peer network. This is where one person can exchange value with another person on the internet. Now, a lot of you probably have used these peer-to-peer networks, but didn't realize that they were a form of blockchain or digital ledger technology. These are platforms like LimeWire, BearShare, Aries, BitTorrent, so on and so forth. These were early forms of this type of technology, where what would happen, Napster is another great example, where what would happen is a piece of information would be on a server, and it would be broken up into little pieces, and then everybody can then start uploading those pieces to a single point or to one person. Super simple. So in 2004, we had Hal Finney introduced reusable proof of work. And in 2009, this group formed, and in the group was led by a gentleman called Satoshi Nakamoto, and he dropped his infamous Bitcoin white paper. Then in 2015, we have the birth of a project called Ethereum, which was started by a gentleman called Vitalik Buterin and Gavin Wood, who later went on to start Polkadot. But we'll talk more on these later on. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down in more detail how a blockchain works. Now, in this scenario, we're going to be going over how a proof of work blockchain works. Proof of stake works in a total different way, but in this example, we're going to give an example of proof of work. So what happens? First of all, I want to send a transaction to Keish. So I go on my phone and I send that a mess that I want to do this transaction. This transaction is now broadcast to a network of computers. These network of computers that are attached to this network are called nodes. The nodes all receive that I have tried to send a transaction to Keish, so everybody can see it. Now, what ends up happening is the network of nodes validate that I am sending this transaction. Now, with Bitcoin, the way that it originally started, the calculations that were needed to be able to process a transaction were quite small. You could actually even do it on a phone. But now what you need is you actually need warehouses of specially designed graphics cards, which are called ASIC miners, to be able to process these equations, because these equations have got so big over time. So this is why it's called proof of work, because over time, these equations that the computers have to solve to be able to get to process this transaction build up in complexity over time. So what then happens after one of these computers has solved the equation, they're now given a hash. And the hash allows them to now process a block of data. And this block of data, what is it? It's loads of transactions piled up on top of each other and now added to a previous block. Now, whichever computer gets to process the block is rewarded with the token or the currency that is a part of that network. So let's go through that really super simple one more time. I want to send a transaction. The network is notified. The network all compete to solve an equation of who's going to get to process this transaction. This transaction is added to other transactions into a bundle. That bundle is now added to another bundle. The transaction is completed. And then the person that processed that bundle of transactions is also rewarded as well. Hopefully that's nice and clear for everybody. Cool. Let's go on to the next slide. So ultimately, what are ledgers? Think of blockchain as a book. That's the best way of thinking of it. It's just a book where information is stored. It's a digital ledger. So ledgers have been around for centuries. They're mainly used in accounting. What you would do with a ledger is say, okay, today is the 14th of October, and I sent Keish $100. And you put that in a book. Now, on the 15th of October, I now send Keish another $100. And you put that in the book. But you start a new page. Now, the next day, you go to a new page. It is the 16th of October, I'm sending Keish another $100. So you can see in the book, if anyone gets the book, that it's been written down that this is the action that has happened. However, one of the problems with this is what can happen to a book? You can accidentally spill coffee on it. It can get set on fire. As we know with the Palace of Alexandria, it can even, books and water don't quite mix either. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, we do have natural disasters, we do have wars, we do have these situations where ledgers that are keeping this crucial information of who owns what and who was sent what is lost. So a ledger ultimately is an encrypted record keeping system within each blockchain. It stores a record of genuine transactions between network participants, as well as keeping their identity secure and anonymous. So the key thing to ask yourself is, what industries need to keep ledgers? What industries need to keep track of transactions that they're sending to other people? What industries need to keep track of anything that they're doing? That's quite a lot of industries. So I want you to think now, before we go to some of the answers that blockchain may have integrated with. Could blockchain help with ID? Keeping a log of who lives where? Could blockchain help with property? Helping people understand that this person owns this property or owns this land, and it has now been sent to this person without any disputes because someone's lost the paper and lost the rights to it. Could blockchain help with criminal records? Well, in fact, one of my favorite stories, which might even be on a slide later, but I want to talk about it now, is actually something that happened with the UK government. The UK government actually lost over 10,000 criminal records. Now, how did they lose those criminal records? Because the server got damaged. And that's because all of that data was stored on one single server. Now, why is that dangerous? Because if that server goes down because of an electrical fault, someone accidentally deletes a file, then you end up in that situation where all that data is lost. Again, the same thing can happen with hospitals. However, who can think of a technology where all the data would be stored on multiple computers and be safe for pretty much forever? Oh yeah, blockchain. That's where blockchain comes in. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense in terms of why blockchain is important. Let's go and have a look at some of, and again, educational sector. That's a great one. People's grades in school being on the blockchain. Let's go and click on this globe, this gear here, and have a look at some of the industries that blockchain is involved in.
Yeah, 1 second, just switching over.
No worries.
There you go.
Cool. So as we can see, if we scroll down, blockchain is involved in gaming. It's involved in events. It's involved in transport. It's involved in IoT devices, like we mentioned. It's involved in tokenizing the stock market. It's involved in loyalty. It's involved in, and as we can see here on the middle here, we can see the market cap of these industries in blockchain currently. So the market cap is the total value of these industries at this moment in time. AI and big data and blockchain is worth 37, I believe that is 37 million. No, wait, hang on a minute. So 37 billion. Wow, that is a lot, right? Does that make sense? Why maybe this may be a growing industry that is 37 billion? Possibly because AI and blockchain, like we said earlier, are highly integrated. So easiest way of breaking down 1 million versus a billion: 1 million, 6 zeros, a billion, 12 zeros. So let's keep on going. And then let's keep scrolling down. So the great thing is about blockchain technology, what it allows is it allows anybody to, I prefer not to call it a decentralized, but more of a distributed technology. So it means that anybody is independent and can create their own technology or their own apps or websites on top of blockchain technology. And this is why we have so many industries and so many things happening. Cool. Let's go back to the slides then, Keish. Okie dokie. So the myths and legends of blockchain technology. So there's a few myths and legends here, and there's a few things that you may have heard before, and then you may be like, oh, yeah, I thought this about this. So blockchain is Bitcoin. This is the biggest misconception. Everybody thinks that blockchain and Bitcoin are the same thing. Whereas what we've just shown you is several industries that blockchain applies to. And this is why it's important to understand that they are not the same thing. And it's also important to understand that blockchain and cryptocurrency aren't the same thing. It's a part of blockchain. The best way of understanding this is like talking about sport. When we talk about sport, just because we're talking about sport doesn't mean we're talking about golf, and it doesn't mean we're talking about football. And that's the exact same thing with blockchain, right? Just because you're talking about Bitcoin is not a representation of, say, for example, R3 Corda, which is a private blockchain. It's not a representation of what JP Morgan are doing with the Onyx blockchain. They are all completely different, have nothing to do with each other, play by a completely different set of rules, and have complete different owners. And that's exactly like some people argue that Formula One is a sport. Some people argue that WWE is a sport. But again, it's up to the individuals if they believe that this is a sport or if it's not. But the fundamental is, for blockchain, is it using the technology of peer-to-peer technology? Is it using a ledger that's distributed? Cool. So blockchain is better than traditional databases. Again, this isn't true. Why isn't this true? Because sometimes traditional databases are more secure. Why are they more secure? Because depending on the type of blockchain that you can have certain blockchains where ownership is actually owned by ownership is controlled by whoever has the largest amount of money in that blockchain. So this tends to be in proof of stake blockchains. So that would mean that they can tamper and change the results and change things that have been put in the ledger. So blockchain is immutable and tamper-proof. That's exactly what we were just talking about there. Blockchain isn't tamper-proof. An example, what you can do is you can actually go back and amend and make changes in a blockchain if it's voted on by the community in some cases, or if it's the majority of the blockchain is owned by one individual. If they own more than 51% and that's written into the code, they can go and change things in the blockchain. And again, blockchain is 100% secure. Most definitely not. There is loads of accidents that happen in the blockchain space in terms of hacks, in terms of people draining people's wallets and all sorts of stuff. So it is ultimately is not 100% secure. And blockchain is a truth machine. As we've just said, things can be changed with blockchains. So it is not actually 100% a truth machine. Cool. So
I think also just to add to what you were saying, Mike, in terms of the security aspect, I think there's a huge notion in the crypto space in terms of security. But if you look at the likes of Amazon's, Google's, Facebook's, and YouTube's, they get hacked and attacked 24/7 all the time. But there's not as much large publications that come out regarding it. I think that's a quite interesting thing to add there. So
yeah, 100%. So it's a given part of technology, but everyone seems to care when it happens in blockchain, but they don't seem to care when it happens to Google, even though Google's got way more of your data. And the best example of why blockchain is important is, again, using these centralized servers, right? I would say right now, most of you, in fact, let's get a reaction going. Press the react button if you use Google Drive. Let's get some hearts going. Press the heart button or the reaction button if you use let's see, iCloud, or type iCloud in the chat. And then let's see who uses Dropbox. If you use Dropbox, type Dropbox in the chat. Cool. Now, all of these things that I've just mentioned, they use centralized servers. So if their servers get damaged, guess what happens to all that information that you've got on those servers? It's gone. Gone forever. Now, wouldn't it be great if there was a technology that would mean that all your information was nice and safe and stored and split across multiple computers? Well, that's exactly what blockchain technology does. And platforms like SIA, platforms like Arweave, platforms like Cross Network, and Shadow Drive allow you to store your information on a decentralized server. So, who owns the technology? As a concept, blockchain technology is decentralized. So this is just a concept. Decentralization means that the people own it. This is a concept. It's not the actuality. It is a distributed network, but it's not necessarily a decentralized network. Therefore, if it was decentralized, it wouldn't be owned by a specific central governing body. However, it can be argued that with more industrial adoption, certain blockchains are becoming much more centralized. So here's some reasons for this. We're going to give you some quick facts here that most people don't know. The majority of blockchain is hosted on AWS. Does anybody know who owns AWS? Type in the chat. Yep, there we go. Now, another reason for problems with this is, say, for example, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, one of the largest miners in Bitcoin is a company called Riot Blockchain, and they're one of the largest miners in America. One of their early investors was Vanguard, who, as we know, are quite a large company. And let's say, for example, when we look at MetaMask, MetaMask is one of the most important wallets that's needed in the Ethereum blockchain for people to buy, sell, hold cryptocurrency. One of their earliest investors was JP Morgan. So as we can see here, when we look at platforms like Coinbase, one of their largest investors, and they're the largest exchange, and they host 9 of the 11 Bitcoin ETFs, their largest investor is BlackRock. So as we can see, the space isn't as decentralized as we would like to think and we would like to feel it is, but it is most definitely distributed. It does have a lot of the ownership and a lot of the control is with the people and with the community, however, not all of it. So why is blockchain technology important today? Blockchain technology is starting to be used more and more for things like logistics, gaming, tourism, medical data, and so on and so forth. So the next slide is a bit of a quiz for everybody. Keisha, am I doing this one?
It's okay, I can cover this one. Hi guys. I think that this one's quite interesting. I first want to ask people, I want to see in the chat, where do you think this is, guys? Can I get some guesses in the chat? Let's see if we get someone that's right. And then I'll explain a little bit more about this. Let's see. Where do you think it is, guys? Let's see. Okay. I think I've seen one person get it right. Victoria Falls. No, it's not Victoria Falls. Barbados. It's not Barbados. Unfortunately, I wish it was. Yeah. Okay. There you go. I think we got it, guys. This is Niagara Falls, right? Now I want to explain to you guys what is behind this lovely giant waterfall. And behind Niagara Falls is actually Bitcoin miners, right? They actually use the water in itself to generate electricity, which powers Bitcoin miners, and also they use it as a cooling system. Duns River. Yeah. So that's a little bit about things that people that wouldn't understand or wouldn't know that is happening in the world today. We've got a lot of governments and organizations that are heavily invested in Bitcoin, but publicly facing, you would never know because they're hiding it behind their waterfalls. So I thought this was a cool thing that we could share with you guys, so you understand how big Bitcoin is, and a really interesting use case of a waterfall as a cooling system and also as a way to generate electricity. So on to the next slide. Now we want to talk a little bit about more about public and private blockchains. Michael explained the players like JP Morgan's, you've got HSBC, we've got a lot of large players that have their own private blockchains. And I think what we want to explain and give you understanding of are the disadvantages and some advantages and differences based on what a public blockchain does compared to what a private blockchain does. Now, as you can imagine, it's pretty much in the name, right? Private blockchains are completely private, right? That's advantage off the bat, and that will be for organizations that are using and have a lot of data from things like financial records, medical records, and things of that nature that they don't want to actually have out. But you know, public blockchains, you can see all of the transactions, but that doesn't mean that you can see every single person, right? Because it's encrypted. So every single person has their own public facing like code, and then they have their own private encryption as well, which actually gives you access to that. But on the public blockchains, you can track and you can trace and have a clear understanding of what's happening on each of these different blockchains, what transactions are happening, what the transaction amount is, what people have in their wallets, things of that nature. But you don't know whose identity is tied to that wallet. So that's a bit of a difference between public and private. Now, public blockchains, you know, some of them are a lot slower. Some of them, most of them are permissionless, and they have low efficiency. So these things we're seeing, and these are what we're going to get into a little bit later, is something called a trilemma, and we'll explain a little bit of the difficulties that these blockchains have as they're scaling and they're growing. Now, private blockchains are a lot faster. They're permissioned, of course. You know, not everyone has access to it, and you have to have certain amount of, you know, passwords for entrancy, whatever that looks like. And then they have high efficiency because they don't have extremely high throughput compared to the public ones. So that's a little bit about public versus private blockchains. Now we're going to go through proof of work versus proof of stake. I think Michael done a great example of that. You know, the inefficiencies with Bitcoin with proof of work is, you know, it becomes more and more difficult to mine as there is another halving on Bitcoin. That means that there's less and less Bitcoin being distributed, meaning less and less rewards. And then, you know, with proof of work, imagine you have a factory or warehouse full of computers, and you have 100 computers in there. Let's say you have all 100 computers competing to get one reward, and the person that actually completes that gets the reward. So what does that mean? There's 99 other computers that were generating and using power and electricity, but didn't actually earn any Bitcoin. So that's a huge you know, disadvantage in terms of you know, proof of work when it comes to mining, and in this case specifically Bitcoin. One of the advantages is that there's extremely strong security, and also it's a decentralized method for validation. So now the disadvantages, of course, is the machinery setup, and then it uses lots of power to run machinery, which I explained. Now, on the other hand, proof of stake, the advantages is that it's a lot faster, there's faster transactions, and it's more energy efficient. Now, proof of stake basically means that, let's say, if you want to be a validator on a network, let's use Ethereum as an example. With Ethereum, you have to put 32 Ethereum locked up inside of a wallet, right? And now that you've pledged and you have that those tokens staked, you can now participate and work as a validator. And I think that this is a more efficient because, you know, there's not tons of computers competing, and then there's, you know, a certain number of validators that are available, and then they can actually go ahead and execute on their roles. Now, the disadvantage is, of course, the upfront investment. And with proof of stake, you know, the bigger stake you have, the more work you can do to validate the transactions. So I think that is slightly unfair, or is it unfair? I leave that up to you guys to think on. And then also, fees are charged for each validated transaction, which will then go to those that are working to validate them. So on Ethereum, for example, when you're using Ethereum, you'll see that you have something called gas fees. And now these gas fees that you're paying to have the transaction be able to go to whoever you're sending it to, these are given to the people that are validating. So this is a little bit about the differences and advantages and disadvantages of proof of work versus proof of stake. Cool. Now let's look at Bitcoin versus Ethereum. I think I covered quite a lot of this, to be honest. But yeah, let's go back and see. We've got the big issue with solving with proof of work, solving the puzzles and equations. So these computers are fighting to solve mathematical equations and problems and encryption, and then the computer that wins gets the prize. So that's where it has its disadvantage. Now, I think Bitcoin in itself, I think, is a great store of value and store of wealth, and that's what it's being used for. Now we have Ethereum, which is more actually a platform which people are utilizing to build products and to build other applications. So it has a lot more use case and has more capability. And we have other networks that are with Bitcoin where they now have that capability, which is a new thing that's come up. But I think with Ethereum, they've done a really great job at expanding across the whole of the space and sit on quite a large percentage of all of the projects that have been built out within the space. So that's a few differences. Of course, if Bitcoin is proof of work and Ethereum is proof of stake. So yeah. Now let's have a look at Vitalik's trilemma. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know some people here, so I'm gonna keep an eye on the chat here to see if we can see some of these people's names pop up. But I'll run through some of these people here in a second. But now this is what I was talking about the issue when it comes to running your own blockchain and trying to scale it and grow it, right? Issue is having good security and maintaining decentralization while scaling and growing. So there's a huge trilemma, and this is what everyone's trying to solve within the space: is how can we keep our platform extremely secure, and how can we keep it decentralized and continue to empower our user base and give ownership to the user base so that the platform can be community driven, and also how can we do this at scale, right? I think Ethereum's done a really great job on that because we have some people here which I can't disclose now because you guys are still typing in chat, which I'll check in a sec. But we have these people that have created this platform called Ethereum, and now it's a community driven platform, right? So the CEOs and the founders of the platform, they are more overseeing and helping the direction of it, of that platform, but ultimately their community and all of their contributors actually decide and actually can bring forward ideas and vote on new updates and changes. A developer might develop a new update and push it to the community and say, do you guys approve of this? And then that's how Ethereum gets updated. So I think that's a very interesting and a new way of building business where it's community driven, and everyone's incentivized because they are a part of that network and they own a share in that as well. So I think that's one thing that is really incredible about the concept of decentralization and it not being owned by one central authority that has control over everything and tells everyone what to do, like the likes of BlackRock, for example. So cool. Let's have a look in the chat and see what people are saying. Let's see if we can see some names. Okay, we've got Vitalik. Okay. Mohammed came with Vitalik Buterin. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay, it doesn't seem like people know who these guys are. We've got one Vitalik. All right, guys. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a rundown. So we're gonna go through a few of these founders and influential people within the space and talk about some of the stuff that they've done. So let's start with Joe Lubin. Now, this is actually one of the early, Ethereum members, right? And he founded several companies and actually helped out heavily with Ethereum. But then he became a founder of something called Consensus. Now, if you look at what consensus is, you understand that they sit with Ethereum, they sit with MetaMask, and a wide range of other platforms. So that is Joe Lubin here. Now we have Charles Hodgkinson. Now he is actually the man, the myth, and the legend that was a co-founder of Ethereum, but then also went out and branched out and built something called Cardano. So I don't know if you guys are aware of Cardano blockchain and ADA, but as Charles Hodgkinson there. Now, I think we all know Vitalik, right? Of course, he's the face of Ethereum. And then now we have Gavin Wood as well. So Gavin Wood is actually one of the co-founders of Ethereum, and I think me and Mike were lucky to meet a few people that actually rented their building to them in London, and we had a interesting story about one time when they couldn't pay the rent properly, and they offered these guys a little bit of Ethereum, and at the time they were like, what do you mean? I want real money, and they were like, no, trust me, it's a real thing, etc. And I don't think they actually took the deal. So they could have got Ethereum really super early, but they didn't take the deal. But Gavin Wood then went out to actually create a platform called Polkadot and also Kusama, which is a very interesting way of using blockchain technology. And it's they have something very interesting called parachains, which is like every single platform is like a miniature blockchain. But I definitely would advise you guys to definitely have a look at Polkadot and check out what parachains are. And then we have Vitalik, of course, he's the main face behind Ethereum. So yeah. Now let's have a look at some of a little bit more myths, legends, and some disadvantages of blockchain, right? I have my own personal opinion on this, and I think some of these things are a little bit, of false narratives that are being pushed in the space. One thing that I think has been pushed out heavily is that Bitcoin is terrible for the environment and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is that from the research that we've done and the reports we've been reading, we actually discovered that the power that it takes for someone to use a tumble dryer or a kettle is more than a Bitcoin mining machine, for example. So I think that is a little bit of a false narrative that's being pushed in the space, because there's people that have their household appliances and they're using way more power than Bitcoin in itself. And there's a lot of really incredible platforms and blockchains that are front facing towards actually creating environmental change. Now, the slow speed of scalability, I think, is quite interesting as well. I think there's lots of user base, lots of capital with Bitcoin having its halvings each time we have something we call a bull run, where the markets and a lot of cash and capital is flowing into the markets. So I think during this time, this is where there's the largest amount of user adoption. But I see with platforms like Ton, for example, which is Telegram, they've done incredible and cracked a huge access to their user base and scaling it into Web3, having almost 200 million users on one of their games. So Telegram has about 900 million users. So I think there's different ways and different platforms that you might see popping up that are similar to Telegram that will be doing things very similar, having their own tokens, launching their own projects. And I think it's great to be early in the space, because then you can get in earlier before everyone else. And I think the great advantage about in regards to cryptocurrency, not so much blockchain, is just being a step ahead and being earlier than everyone else. And you can definitely do that via research, via reading reports and getting a really great understanding. And now this is another disadvantage, which is the reliance on personal responsibility. And I actually agree with this. I think this is a huge issue because some platforms are really not easy to use, not easy to set up. And we advise people to use platforms that are very easy to understand if you're just starting out, just getting into it. And I think you know, this is the best way to get into it, because if you get into getting your own decentralized wallet and you have to get your private keys and you have to connect to other platforms and you have to learn all of these new things, I think it can become a little bit overwhelming. So I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking for is people that are doing UI UX design, designing the user interface, making it a lot easier for people to onboard, making it a lot easier for people to transact, and just making it very, very simple. And I think, you know, no matter what blockchain it is, blockchain technology should be extremely simple to use. Now, false narratives is another one. So, whether it's negative press going out in the news, whether it's people publicly saying that they dislike Bitcoin and all of a sudden they're all over it. I'll give you a great example. The United States government, for example, they're all over it, and it's kind of funny how it was, we don't like Bitcoin, we don't like crypto, and then now it's like, hey guys, get some Bitcoin. So it's quite interesting to see that there are these false narratives, because from the research that we've been doing, publicly facing banks and large institutions have been involved in a sort of cryptocurrency from around about 2015. And then from our deeper research, they've been in it from the beginning, majority of the biggest players and investment groups. So it's quite interesting to see that there's these narratives being pushed out, and you have to be careful and do your own research and know things for yourself, because certain things that the news are pumping out is to sway people and sway people's opinions, so that the larger institutions and larger players can actually get in. And this is very well known across, places like Forex and the stock market. The news affects the market very much so. So I think that that's something that we need to keep an eye out for. Now, let's talk a little bit about some use cases and platforms. And I know Michael covered a lot of them there, so I'm going to quickly run through this. Of course, we have the lovely Fifth Work. So I would like to give a shout out to Fifth Work. Guys, we're going to have really great courses for you guys to be able to do and earn some cash. We're going to be giving out some tokens for you guys as well. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I know Brian will most likely get Nino to explain everything to you guys. But, let's have a look at what industries and what sectors and things that, what use cases there are at the moment now in the space. So I think smart contracts, we're going to get into a little bit more tomorrow. So in our next session, we'll be going through smart contracts and NFTs, etc. But I think that's a huge place for things like the legal space. Creating a trustless environment for people to transact, for people to do deals, I think is a huge element that blockchain allows you to do. Now, there's the NFT marketplace, which we'll get into again. But I think a huge element is supply chain and logistics. Even across the EU, they've actually set a new standard. I believe it was in 2020, which actually means that the global supply chain that's coming through Europe has to be tracked and traced correctly. And the only two things that I know that can do it very well is IOT and blockchain technology. So there's a use case for you guys. And definitely everyone who's here, have your pen, have your pads, make your notes, and make sure that you're getting all of the information that you need. Create some ideas, get creative, because this is an idea fun at the end of the day, and we want you guys to take all of these concepts and things that we're teaching and start creating and thinking, what do I want to do for myself? What environments and what industry does aligns with me? And we'll be here to help you along the way. Healthcare is a huge element. So healthcare management, in the healthcare at the moment, they have different softwares and different platforms that don't communicate with each other. Health records are being lost, and it's very difficult for someone to transfer their files to another place. Blockchain helps with that. Property ownership and transactions, fractionalization of properties is huge with RWA coming into play. We have very big narratives of RWA and AI currently. Definitely do your own research into those sectors. But I think fractionalization of property allows people to be able to buy into the yield of a property with a lower ticket size. And on the flip side, for business, it allows them to have more malleable capital, raise money quicker, and then also allow them to, be able to get masses of people invested into one thing. We'll get into the NFTs and then the metaverse and talk about fractional ownership a little bit later as well, which I'm excited about. And a huge element is the music industry. Now, the music industry has a huge issue with royalties being paid out properly, with artists and their work. And there's organizations and companies that are literally earning hundreds and hundreds of millions doing this. And I think there's a huge element where with blockchain technology, it gives the power back to the people and also back to the artists and back to their communities. So that's what we're seeing there. And now identity and security is another huge element. And we'll get into that a little bit more with talking about the metaverse and things of that nature, where we're going to be covering, how important, understanding your identity and where it is, and also understanding how to monetize from your data. Because right now, if you look at Facebook, if you look at Google and all of these other platforms, Instagram that you're using, if you're not earning from the platform and you're using it every day, then you are being utilized to generate revenue, right? So I think Web3 flips that. That was Web2. Web3 flips that and brings more ownership to the users, allowing them to actually monetize and generate money from their own data. So these are some use cases here, with education as well as a huge piece as well. But I thought I'll cover a little bit about what sort of is going on in the space and some elements, because blockchain technology literally applies to every industry sector. Myself running a venture studio, I find myself working in every industry sector because there's so much problems that need to be solved via using blockchain technology. So yeah, hopefully this has helped you guys out, and there's a bit of notes that you can make and maybe start drafting some ideas, because I think we definitely want to hear your ideas and get into it later. So yeah, and then I think I want to sort of give a little overview of what to look for, or elements in your research to understand whether there's a platform that is reputable, or something that to differentiate the platforms that are more reputable from the platforms that are a bit like iffy, you don't really know, right? One is, of course, as a business, is it generating revenue? Is it getting money coming in? It's not so much about profit, but is money coming in, right? Is it generating revenue? So if that is yes, green light, good. Now, what sort of partners and developer base do they have? Do they have a lot of people that are building on their platform, right? Do they have a good developer base? I think that's very important. Then looking at the partners, are they involved with big players? Are they involved with people that are that have access to huge amounts of customers? Do they have very strong partnerships with organizations that make sense for what they're doing? Now, VCs do they have investors that are very reputable, that have a great track record of success? Do they have big name VCs and investors on their platform? Because that will make sense and give you understanding of the level of due diligence that has been done on a project. And then you want to look at the network growth, like the growth of the platform. How big are the communities? Are people active? Are people doing things? Are the communities building things for the platform? What do they think? Do they care about it? And then we want to have a look at market cap, right? So the total amount of value inside the platform, what the value of the platform it is, like what value does it have? And then we want to understand, in that same industry sector, where is it at compared to the others? Is there room for growth? are they at a good stage? And to give a bit of a comparison of, out of all the competitors, what are they doing different and what sets them apart, and how far along have they gotten? Now, another thing that's very important that I think people definitely sleep on is understanding the token distribution. Because if you're investing in a token or a cryptocurrency, you want to understand how often is this company releasing their tokens? Let's say they have a billion tokens. Are they releasing 1% or 5% every quarter? What does that sort of look like? What are their vesting schedules? Now, if you guys don't know what that is, write it down. Vesting schedules. So, what is the period of time that there is between the release of a token with their team, with their investors, and uh, is the community pool, how much of that is going back into it? So you can understand their business model a little bit more. And if you understand the scarcity of the token, then you'll know when is the best time to invest. Because imagine if there's a bunch of tokens that get released, then you're like, okay, cool, maybe it's a great time to invest, right? So you want to invest when it's low and when it's not high, right? Now, TVL is a total value locked inside the token. So yeah, I think that's another piece there. So the amount of capital in it, right? Cool. Now there you go. So there's lots of investment opportunities, whether you're trading cryptocurrencies, buying shares in companies that are using blockchain technology, investing with companies, holding cryptocurrencies, investing into crypto mining companies, or mining crypto yourself, investing in mining pools, whether you're staking and farming on different platforms, or investing in ETFs that are connected to different cryptocurrencies. And then also, you can also earn by joining communities and being a part of the community and getting rewarded for that. So these are some opportunities and elements there. So this concludes the session today, and the next session we'll get into will be nifty NFTs. Now, yeah, I don't know if there's anything there that you want to add there, Mike, but I think that's it there. So much appreciated, guys. I hope that's been great, and thank you for everyone who's been here and following. And yeah, I'll hand it back to Brian.
Thanks, Kish. Thanks, Mike. Guys, that was beautiful. So guys, I'm following the chat, and some of you are literally playing hilarious. Like I'm cracking my ribs out, yeah. But as much as you have so much banter in the chat, I hope you're listening, because to graduate, you have to pass the assessment and you have to meet some criteria, okay? So I hope you're multitasking, okay? Because our partners are incredibly busy, and for them to set aside their precious time to come be with us here, honestly, let's not be classroom jesters and like also try to contribute to class, okay? Now, up next, we're going to have the guest lab. Mike and Kish, if you want to stay and be part of the guest lab, that's absolutely up to you guys. We can do it full on panel style. But for the guest lab, we have Caitlin, Josh, and Nat, who will be taking us through some of the points in terms of real world application. And Kish and Mike, I know you guys work very closely with Crypto Mondays. So again, this is literally up to your discretion if you want to stay. But
Yeah, we're
thank you
so
very
sorry.
much.
We've got another call that we've got to jump to. That's why.
Yeah,
Sorry about
unfortunately,
that.
yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm incredibly grateful. We're gonna catch up with you guys, and the students will definitely see you on your next session coming up. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike and Kish.
Also in regards to materials, I know there's a lot of people asking, can we get the slides? Unfortunately, no, you can't get the slides, right? We normally charge for these slides, I'll be honest, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a summary of what we've taught, and I'll share that out with Brian. So expect that at the end of the camp, that you guys will get summaries and stuff that will be emailed to you. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, and
Well, you
now,
guys.
so after the presentation by Caitlin and Josh and Nathaniel, you guys in the audience, if you have questions to ask, please feel free to ask questions. So as the presentation goes on, you can ask some questions, but just allow the panelists to exhaust their points, okay? So let me remove the pin. Caitlin, come on board.
I also just wanted to add really quick, Brian, if it's okay. I can see in the group some people like a little bit discouraged that maybe you're not understanding straight away. Definitely just keep at it. It's one of those things like it will click in your brain. It does, I think, for everyone eventually. It just takes different time for different people. But Michael and Keish are really patient, really good teachers, and definitely take the opportunity to ask questions to each other, to them. You know, it's a forum in a way, and so it's really great. So we can help each other out and support each other. But don't get discouraged. Technology is a little complex in the beginning, but you will get there.
I've also added my LinkedIn and my Twitter there. I'm always try and reply back. I always spend an hour on the weekend just replying back to people's messages. So if there's any questions that you've got, I'm really prefer when people voice note. So if on LinkedIn, add me, send me a voice note. I'll voice note you back and answer your questions.
Hey, man, before you go, man, just to tell you, I was just out at Harvard, and I got to tell you that presentation and that training was better than what I saw over there.
As
Great job.
always, Mike,
Love
Mike,
that.
appreciate your stars, man.
Bless
you.
Crypto Mondays Caribbean on the right foot. Let me tell you something. That was just enough content for everybody to get in. I mean, you have to hear it about 1,000 times before you actually get it. I don't know. Caitlin was referring to that. Is that you know, people get overwhelmed easily because it's a new technology, and that goes in all areas. You know, like, so I'm the host of Crypto Mondays Global, and I go all around the world. Been in 30 different countries doing Crypto Mondays, and we're getting ready to kick off the Crypto Mondays Caribbean through our amazing partners led by Caitlin, our Joe, in Crypto Mondays London. If you just coming on board now or got lost. And so we run the world's largest community for Web3 in real life events, and we go to all the different conferences and events, and we represent a lot of different investors, sponsors, major speakers, innovators, developers, funders, traders, degens, and all these different types. And I'd say what we got to think about is taking it down a step. And instead of learning all this inside content, what we're going to do now for our session is get to know you and get to know what you're about and get to know who you can be and what you can become and how you can benefit from some of these things that these guys were talking about, right? They were going on about the power of decentralization, transparency, incentivization, and giving people rewards for what they do, having people own their own data, and then creating a whole multi-trillion-dollar entrepreneurship scheme all over the world that includes Africa, the Caribbean. And by the way, today is Indigenous Day in America, Indigenous tribes, and we also include other things in the blockchain that aren't just about money or about real-world assets or about tokens, but we also include things like environmental protection, cultural inclusion. We've had shaman on Crypto Mondays. We've had people that are doing all kinds of ocean projects and all kinds of different projects that are helping communities. We were at COP28 and everything else.
Josh.
And so, yeah, there's
Josh.
all these things.
Josh, can you hear me? Before you proceed, let's take it back. Let's take it back from the top. Let's do some introductions, Josh.
Yeah.
You started guns blazing, man. You started really
let's do it.
blazing.
Let's do it.
So let's take it back from the top.
Let's
start off with Caitlin, Josh. Nah, Josh, hold up. Let's start with Caitlin first. Ladies first.
Oh, well, we already did our introductions.
No, Caitlin, tell us about Crypto Mondays London, first of all. Then Josh, we'll get back to you. Then Nat, and then we have a sequential discussion, first of all.
I love Josh's energy. Josh is on it. I did think though, Josh, really quick, because some people don't know what Crypto Mondays is. So To give a little bit of context, so as we said at the top of the call, my name's Caitlin, and I founded Crypto Mondays London. But Crypto Mondays is a global decentralized organization that exists in something like 50 plus cities around the world. There's always new ones popping up. So I never know the exact number, but it all started in 2018 with New York, and the New York people, their names are Lou and James, they wanted to create something that existed everywhere. So they asked me if I was interested in starting one in London, and I said yes. So every city is run slightly differently. If anyone is interested in starting one, Josh is definitely the person that you want to chat to. But the whole purpose of Crypto Mondays was basically when we looked at conferences, initially it started out that the best part of conferences is usually the networking. That's where the business gets done. So the idea was to create an IRL event that was sort of networking only. What I found in London pretty quickly is that that's fine for a little while, but eventually people want value. They want to learn something. So then we started organizing speakers. So we would bookend an educational piece with networking. So you come in, you'd have some drinks, you'd chat to people, and then you'd have a session, a panel or a keynote, something relevant to the industry. So we've covered every kind of topic you can think of, from DAOs to trading in a bull market or a bear market to ZK rollups. I mean, basics all the way to quite technical. But the idea is that you can come and you can learn, and there's no barriers to entry. The events are always free because we are a nonprofit charitable group. And then we started branching out, and then we work with other companies as well, including Nat, who's going to talk here in a minute. Blockchain Sensei and Crypto Mondays have a very strong relationship as well. And then when Brian said he wanted to start one in the Caribbean, I thought it was the best thing I'd ever heard. So just for a little bit of background about Crypto Mondays, that's how it works. And then Josh, who's been there since the very, very beginning, is what we call Crypto Mondays Global. And so he will sort of travel around and help people set up Crypto Mondays in their cities by finding them sponsors, speakers, whatever it is that they need. So that's my intro. So Josh, I'll let you chat now, but yes, just for some background.
So I can go ahead, Brian. I mean, let me know. Let me know.
Yeah. Josh, the mic is yours. Come on. Yeah.
All right. Let me get from the audience here. Well, thank you. I mean, I love the community aspect of. And did you guys hear who heard community from what Michael and Kish were saying? Yeah. Did you hear that word community? And they were talking about that, right? But which community? Right? Which community? Well, Crypto Mondays is one of many. But we want to find out one of those three questions. So there's three top questions that we're going to ask everybody today. And there's so many participants, we want to hear your voices. But we can't hear 173 people at the same time. So we got to put everybody in these breakout groups to answer the questions. All right? Does that sound okay? Like a little activity.
Yeah, hold up, just Josh, just hold on a second. Nat, you want to do your introduction, please?
Yeah. What's good, everyone? My name is Nat Cole, from London. Again, worked with Caitlin, worked with Brian on various different things. I want to say, like, I represent myself when I come in here because we're in a self-sovereign economy. Yeah. So, you know, although, like, you know, you guys might have seen that on the presentation before we started. I represent a company called Stacks London, which is one organization, but I also represent a community called CoinScrum, which is one of the, if not the oldest Bitcoin communities in the world, most definitely in the UK. We teach things from a pretty Bitcoin first perspective, because we like to say is if you understand Bitcoin, you understand the changes that are happening here, you understand everything else. It is very easy to apply your understanding of Bitcoin to absolutely everything in the space. Whereas it's, you know, as I can see obviously in the chat as well, it sometimes get confusing and a lot difficult. Yeah, just to kind of give a bit of my background, I've been doing this for like 10 years, like educating people in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So I found over that time that introducing people to Bitcoin first as a concept and what Bitcoin is doing, and introducing blockchain then as a part of Bitcoin, or one of the things that helps Bitcoin to work, then helps people to understand very much easier how the rest of the space kind of works. I'd like to big up definitely Caitlin and Josh here and Brian for inviting me, and the guys earlier on, Blockchain Sensei guys, Michael and Keish, worked with those guys a few times as well. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I tend to kind of give people the simple black and white of where it is and help them to navigate through the space from that point.
Thanks for that, Nat. So, Josh, apparently, because we're really time strapped, we can't manage to do the breakout rooms for this particular
Let
session.
me ask Nathaniel, what are your ideas on community? What do you think about community, the importance of community blockchain?
I mean, communities are important all across the world. It's communities what brought us here. It was about cypherpunks thinking about people having and owning their own privacy. And then also they realized that people owning and having their own privacy wasn't very much useful if private corporations who had loads and loads of money controlled the world and banks still controlled the world. So then they started to apply that to money, to make people be able to be their own bank, which is obviously where we've come from. And that helps communities to thrive, in the end of the day, because communities are all responsible. People feel, have a sense of responsibility for each other and the people who they interact with. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a community of trust in a way. Hey, I want to ask somebody.
We like to call it trustlessness, don't we? So,
trustlessness. What I want to ask the community, the people that are already here, if somebody open up their mic and take the risk of speaking, and what does he mean when Nathaniel says, "Be your own bank"? He just said that like you can have the opportunity to be your own bank. Based on what you heard in the last lecture, what do you think that means?
It means you're in control of all the operations. Yeah. So actually. All right. So I'll be taking.
If you want to speak, do you just want to raise your hand or your mic?
Yeah, I was going to
because
say,
we can't have everybody speaking at the same time, please.
Okay, so I'll help you go through this, right? So Oba can go and you do your reply first.
So when he says be your own bank, it basically means that, from my understanding, is being in control of the full operations of your account. So just like you use MetaMask, you're able to transact, put as much money in as you want, get as much money out as you want, and send it to anyone all over the world. That's my basic explanation for it.
Pretty good. Okay, so next one is Franklin. Franklin, you still there? Still with us?
Yeah, being your own bank means to me having full control over your digital financial assets. That's the decentralized finance. Having control, managing your own finance yourself, not being in control of the government regulating how your money goes in and goes out of your accounts.
That's a very cool answer as well. I've seen somebody else, Jason, in the chat said financial autonomy, which is another very good answer. Olen Waju. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good evening. Be your own bank is actually me, from my own perspective, is most of the question that has been given. Be in the full control of your money without under any government direction. You are in control how the money comes in and go out of your account. That's my whole understanding. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Josh,
Thank
do you wanna roll it on? Because I see we've got loads of hands that keep popping.
So wait, let's move to the next ones, and maybe the people that still want to answer can just follow on that. So if you said it's about controlling your own money, which is basically the response that we heard, like without a third party, how do I transact then? So what does this mean? Decentralization in relation to this be your own bank. Who wants to take a stab at that? Because obviously most of you got this idea and want to be in charge of your own money. But where does this concept of decentralization come into play in relation to you keeping your own money? And who could try that one?
Let's go for Camilla. Hands up.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the relationship between being in charge of your own money and decentralization is that there is no one person in charge of all of the finances that everyone has. So everyone can actually everyone can be a part to how money is controlled in the system. Not really like from the standpoint of the government being in charge of, like central banks issuing money. It's about everybody being in charge of what we accept as money.
Okay, first of all, wait, that answer was not clear. And Josh, sorry, we have to bring back the panel to the objective that the panel was supposed to achieve initially. So the objective of this panel is trying to understand what platforms like Crypto Mondays Global and London and STX London are doing for this industry. Once we get the understanding of what your platforms do, then we're going to take questions from the audience, because right now we're going to be at crosshairs between the objective and the particular running order. So I'll just come back to both you, Josh, and Caitlin, and Nat, to tell us the importance of your platforms and what it does, because my understanding of your platforms is we have the decentralized system that's going on, the decentralized ecosystems, and everybody's trying to build or everybody's trying to network to do something in particular. So how do you bring these people together to bring a semblance of organization into this industry? So Caitlin, we'll start with you, then Nat, then back to Josh, please.
So Brian, when you say in terms of like organization for community, is that what you're asking about, basically? Like, I mean, I think I'm a big believer that you need to listen to the community that does exist and work with them. And I think also to be conscious of the culture in the city that you're building in. So in London, for example, I definitely tried to partner with other conferences and link up with other communities, such as Stacks London, Women in Blockchain Talks, who you'll hear from as well during the course, and some other groups as well, and just see what you can build and collaborate on together. I really think community is opening the door and ensuring that there aren't any barriers to entry. I think we have the chance with Web3 to build things differently than we did with Web. And so I think it's really important to remember that we can make it how we want. So there doesn't have to, there's room for everyone at the table. And I think that's what I really love about sort of the Web3 industry in general and the communities that we build, is the support and the collaboration that exists between everyone. I think in Web2, you had this feeling like you were late to the game and you had to step on other people in order to get what you want. And so part of what's really appealing about Web3 is, one, rebuilding it how you want to, and realizing that you don't have to do that there's space for everybody and that you can work together. And I think if you look at, that's even sort of mirrored in the way that blockchains work, right? Interoperability is everything. And I think that it holds true for communities as well.
Thanks, Caitlin. So Josh has been mentioning a few central terms: decentralization, centralization, community. So what is it exactly about these principles that are so fundamental as compared to the normal Web2 or TradFi as we refer to it? Nat, if you want to take that first, then Josh to build up on it.
Do you know what? As you were saying that, I was just looking at the answers popping into the chat, and I think everybody in here already gets it, right? Like, like that, the decentralization element of things is really removing the power from centralized governments, centralized control, bankers, so on and so forth, and putting it into the hands of the people. Everyone can, in theory, be their own money printer, in this particular essence, right? You know, when we look at the way how fiat money works and how centralized the systems work, everything is kind of like bottom up, whereas, you know, everything in a decentralized world is bottom up, top down, and horizontal all at the same time, right? So anyone can build whatever kind of system they want, but we look at it more from a horizontal perspective because, you know, we can kind of like build up on any idea, right? So we would say it's like more of a horizontal than it is a vertical, right? So yeah, so I think that like across the kind of like space, there is this kind of and it leads me to kind of like again why I put myself in a Bitcoin first position is because, you know, Caitlin's heard me say this lots of times, is that, you know, if you are here for any reason, we have this thing, you know, this term Bitcoin maxi, right? You know, if you're here for any reason, you have to be a Bitcoin maxi, because if you're not a Bitcoin maxi, essentially, right, just, you know, you're here just to make fiat money, right? You know, because if you believe in in any of the predescendant kind of notions of Bitcoin, which is decentralization, which is privacy, which is full autonomy, which is full control, you know, all of those things, you know, are things that are Bitcoin things. You know, they've then been adopted by other protocols and other builders, you know, around the space. You know, and in realistic terms, as you know, I like to say, it all kind of all comes back to Bitcoin in the end of the day, you know, whether that be from a history perspective, whether that be from an investment perspective, we got to do is look at the charts for that, or a technology perspective, if you look at what's currently going on in today's blockchain world. So yeah, that's my answer there.
So Josh, is this ecosystem, is it fanciful? Are we going to achieve a realization at some point? What's your take on it?
Okay, great. Well, yeah, Bitcoin is definitely one community, but you know, if you're a Bitcoin maxi, then you're on everything else is nothing. And then the second thing is when Caitlin mentioned the events and how much fun it is and how cool it is for people to collaborate and build stuff together, then I think Bitcoin meetings are a bit boring when the only thing they talk about is whether it's going up or down. And that's cool. But when you think about community and you think about crypto and the industry, there's three things to get in. Are you looking for? What are you looking for? Are you looking for money? Who wants to raise their hand? Come on, you can do it. And if you're not, that's fine. You can look for friends, which I call network, which is great. And we all need friends. And I'm going to actually put my contact in there for everybody before I forget. And then the other one is you can want to build stuff. And so there's these things. You got money, network, and building stuff. And that's a community of all these different people. And then investors come in to buy the stuff that you build and the networks and the communities that you also build, because that's also part of your brand and part of your business. And so when you think about where is it going, we're still very early in this stage. And with the combination with AI and decentralization, as you can see from the market information given in the lecture, I think it's pretty promising. And I think with friends like Caitlin, and Nathaniel and Brian and Michael and hopefully a lot of these other people that come into Crypto Money's Caribbean and start their own ventures or go into a job and as a marketer or go into a role as a founder or a lawyer or an academic, whatever it is that you want to do in the scene. This is a developing world, and it's the cutting edge of technology, which is super cool. And so I'm happy whether it's Satoshi Nakamoto or anyone else to be going into the direction of decentralization and power to the people, as Nathaniel said.
Cool. Nino,
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Well, I wanted to say something too, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah. Okay, cool, Nino.
All right. So, oh no, go with your question first.
So whether this is a realistic or fanciful ecosystem.
So this ecosystem being BTC, being blockchain, being Web3.
Web3, blockchain, whatever
Who's to say?
people want it to be.
You know,
Yeah.
you never know what the future is going to be. Personally, I'm a proponent for some portions of it. Other portions of it kind of scare me legitimately. You know, to attach microtransactions to everything you do, every interaction, that has some pretty large implications, which do worry me a little bit. You know, where does privacy go? Where does, you know, well, I mean, I think most people here can get the idea. But what I did want to say is the presence of all of these different blockchains together is not a negative thing. And I don't want anyone to think that you know Mr. Cole and I would be at odds because I am a BSV proponent. He's obviously a BTC proponent. But what I would like to say though is for me personally in my company, we had to use BSV. You know, it was affordable. It was available. It's in Africa. It's everywhere. There's the economy is already built around it to some degree. I'm not saying BTC is bad because if I could transfer to BTC, I would. You know, that's a lot of money in there. But for my company right now, it's just not realistic. I can't work with those types of numbers. And to try and help students build something, it's a lot easier to transact on something that costs very little than it is to try and jump in and make my shoulder my way in against all this money that just exists in BTC right now. So for our platform, Fifth Work, most of you have already worked on it. And some of you have already earned BSV. I'm sure some of you have spent it. And I know that for us that worked, but to say that Fifth Work will always be BSV is just not true. So we are blockchain agnostic. We will work with whatever blockchain is currently giving us what we need. At first, we needed a small mobile light platform that we could get out there that already had an ecosystem. But now, as we get larger and we get more money and we get more established, yeah, we'll probably start using other blockchains as well. I'm not limiting myself to anything by building on one or another, because having something is better than hoping you could have something else. You know, it's just you want to make something that is yours, that you can actually access. But again, I love that everyone is here. You know, preach your blockchains. The students are the only ones that know what applies to them. So, you know, I'm gonna teach my portion. I'm gonna share my views, and I would hope that the other people do as well. And then the students can decide and get the help that they need, and hopefully we're, you know, equipped to help them to solve their problems. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Nino. So the four of you have different experiences and have been in this thing at different times. Right now, you have some students at different stages in this journey. So some of them are very green and some of them have some level of experience. Caitlin, what would you advise, like, let's say if it were you on the other side of the part of sat with the audience, what would you be hoping to hear in terms of moving from this step to the next?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So essentially, we have students in the audience, right? And you are at a different level in terms of your experience within the industry. If it were you, if it were your day one as some of the students in the audience, what sort of advice would you be looking for? Like, how do you want to apply yourself in this?
I feel like my day one was just the other day. I feel like I'm still learning all the time. I don't come from a tech background. I always feel like I have to caveat my experience by saying, I mean, I worked in theater. So I always sort of say, if I can learn it and I can do it and I can come from a theater background, which is nothing to do with technology whatsoever, I think literally anyone can do it. And I think some of the advice that I would give would be to immerse yourself as much as you possibly can. So I attended all kinds of meetups and events. That's obviously how I found Crypto Mondays. I also took online courses such as this one. There's amazing things that you can get into for free. I did the Consensus bootcamp, for example. I think asking for help and joining discords or forums where you can ask questions and you can chat to people, because I do think, you know, your day-to-day friends, your parents, they may not understand your quest for knowledge in the Web3 space. Maybe they do. Maybe they support it. Maybe they're into it. But in many cases, that isn't the case. So I think finding like-minded people that you can brainstorm with and bounce ideas off of and ask questions to is really important. I think there's such a social element of this. We don't have to be siloed. It doesn't have to be all online. You can find local spaces, local communities, or you can build your own. So really immersing yourself in it, asking questions, asking for help. That would be my advice.
Thanks, Caitlin. Josh?
Take what you do seriously, but yourself lightly. How about that? Get funky. Do some cool stuff. Get involved in the community. Yeah, just activate yourself and, liven up. We're all really cool people in this space, but there's a lot of scammers, so watch your ass. Especially, if you run into any of those FTX guys down there in the Bahamas. All right, that's all I gotta say, man.
But I would just add to that, Josh, like don't feel intimidated. Yes, there are people that will maybe try and make you feel intimidated or talk super technical just to make you feel some type of way, but don't let it get to you. Everybody has to start.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Gabby,
saying
you
there's
want
a
to
lot
mute
to
the
learn.
mic? There's people in the background who have their mics.
See, there's a lot to learn, but just remember just to stay with it. And like Caitlin said, you'll get it. You'll get it. And if you'll either like it or want to move on to something else. But I think this is a great workshop for people to do this boot camp. And it's just the right time. And wow, Brian and then the team have pulled in just a real good range of top level experts. So you guys are really lucky. So I would say, like he said, just listen and engage when you can.
Not.
Don't trust, verify, and do your own research because that's all you need. Yeah, to be honest, right? You don't need me or Caitlin or Brian or anybody. This stuff's available for you to go and verify for yourself and do your own research. I do have to touch on this BSV stuff though, man. Like it's I'm seeing lots of people in the chat.
Come on, let go of the BSV stuff, man.
I said what you said. No. But bro, we're being transparent right here. So what I'm saying, yeah, this industry is about transparency. And one of the biggest is against censorship resistance. People should not be censored, right? Yeah. Right. So I did put a comment in there about BSV earlier on that I see has suddenly disappeared, which sounds a bit sensory to me. Given that factually, because we're talking about facts, we need to teach people transparently and tell them what is really actually going on. So what I'm saying, just if we're going to talk about this, what I put in the chat earlier on, yeah, right, is at this moment in time, realistically, in real life, not in everybody's virtual world or what they want to believe, right, the founder of BSV has been found out to be a liar, yeah. Right.
There's still court proceedings going on. There's still an appeal coming up.
No, Brian. There's a court ruling, and he still keeps delusionally trying to apply it to the court. And in the last court ruling, he was actually ruled by the judge that he should not be able to apply for any more cases under the pseudonym Satoshi, or say that BSV is the real BTC. But yet he still lodged an application from his
but not. We'll discuss that in the regulatory compliance class. Right now we have like 6 questions from the panel.
Brian,
hold up. We'll revisit this later, man.
Don't trust, verify. Do your own research. You can verify that. Craig cannot verify that he's Satoshi. Craig cannot verify any of the stuff that he's ever said, yeah, right? It cannot be verified. Therefore, should it be trusted if it cannot be verified? If people are doing their own research, what I've just said is 100% true.
Now, listen.
Just saying.
Different court, okay, listen, yeah.
There's
4 court rulings I'm going to tell you, there's 4 court rulings. There's the American court ruling, which found him to be plausible. There's the Australian court ruling, which found him plausible. There was some interim applications in the UK that found him plausible until the tulip trading case, okay, which he pulled out of. He discontinued the claim in
The
tulip.
case just ended 2 months
okay?
ago, Brian. Yeah, with him versus Hodlnot and the rest of the Bitcoin core guys from the early days that he tried to sue. Yeah, you need to update yourself, bro, because that Australian that was thrown out, the Americans said that he's not Satoshi. Yeah. The English said that he's not Satoshi and he's not allowed to say that in any other country ever again. That's what the final ruling. Judge Miller ruled that as a final ruling, sir. Right? So I'm just saying, if
I'm
you're
telling
still
you, there's an
down with
appeal
BSP,
coming up. Okay, hold up. Before the students bounce. Jonathan, do you have a question, please? And then followed by Afolabi and Mercy and Nino. Let's start with Jonathan, please.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Thank you for giving me the mic. So I want to first of all appreciate you, the host, for such an opportunity. You know, this boot camp is such a remarkable one. Personally, I really loved it. You know, and so far, what I've actually gotten from the sections so far is, you know, is something that I personally I was not even expecting it. Like it was mind blowing personally. So I want to take my time to appreciate you and for the host for the whole guest you came up with for us to actually gain this knowledge. It means a lot for me personally. I know also for everyone here right now. So just what I have a question for Michael, though I guess out already. I guess you coming up tomorrow. Then I have some questions for him regarding some around blockchain and the rest of those. So just I wanted to appreciate you and also to let you know personally I've been doing my own research too, you know. I'm on Twitter, you know, I post spaces also, you know, and I understand I watch the community, I put myself in, I try to cut the noise out, try to follow the community that I know that definitely will, you know, enrich and take me to make me be on the right track, you know, because the space is so saturated with a lot of, you know, everybody's coming into the space right now, you know, from Telegram, from all you know, new adoption coming from Telegram, you know, people are actually taking advantage to, you know, to read people, to take from people, to steal from people, right? So the
Josh, you wanna sorry, Jonathan, you wanna get to the point, please? We're really pressed for time.
Yeah, well, the question I had was actually for case of Michael, but nevertheless, I think I'm going to ask this question tomorrow, but I just want to appreciate you for this opportunity. That's all I have to say for now. Peace. Thank you.
All right, Marcy. Marcy?
I think she said in the chat she doesn't have a question.
Oh, she said that. Okay. Oh, right. All right, cool. Her hand was raised. Afolabi?
I'm good. Thanks a lot. No,
Yeah,
I'm
you have a question,
good.
right?
You already answered it.
All right. Okay, cool. Right.
Beautiful.
Nino?
Thank you. Now, and so I wrote it down what I wanted to say, because I want to make sure that I'm better at writing than speaking live, right? So I was going to say that Mr. Quill is absolutely right. He's right. He's right. You know, you should make decisions that you're comfortable with. And if you don't want to build on BSV, don't build on BSV. We did, it worked for us, but don't let that influence your decision more than it should. You know, we are going to be providing rewards in BSV. We can transfer it to a different chain if you want. That's no problem. Happy to do it. Ultimately, just I'm anti-censorship as well. You know, I don't. There's no love lost between us. Like I appreciate that he's here. I want that to be here. I don't think that want to have these influences from the outside. So that you want to have that broad knowledge that you can make the decision for yourself that works for you. So again, I love it. No opposition from me. Please listen to him. Do it. You gotta protect yourself. So that being said, thank you again. I'm out. Thank you, Brian.
All right, cool. Thanks, Nino. So, guys, this is just we are wrapping up the session. Josh, Caitlin, and Nat for coming and showing love, and Kish and Mike, thank you so very much for coming and showing love. So, to the students, we'll catch you tomorrow, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. to 9:30, 9 p.m. rather, UK time. So be prompt and just catch up with the mentors on their LinkedIn. If you have any other discussions, you can follow it up on the Discord or on the WhatsApp group, and you can pick up whatever conversations. We are blockchain agnostic, and we don't want to get involved in any crosshairs. We are here for the education. And then once you guys are educated, all right, thank you to Gabrielle and the rest of the team. Gabrielle, you want to wrap it up?
Well, hello again. Thank you so much to everyone. So just before we go, if you learned something new, if you never learned just one thing new, drop I did. If you learned something new, okay, Jason, right? If you learned to chat, I know that's right, because that's what we're doing here at Blockchain Lex through Crypto Mondays Caribbean. You know, no long ting, quickly, efficiently bringing you the best in the week and that you absolutely learned. So as Brian said, we'll be back tomorrow. It's been a pleasure having everyone here. Let's put some claps in the chat for all of our speakers today. Put some clap emojis, guys.